Hold the phone. An ogre as king? I don't think that's such a good idea. I mean, I don't see myself wearing the crown, sitting on the throne, or wearing the robe, and leading and rolling over far, far away. See, when King Harold suddenly croaks in his frog form, he wants me to be next in line for the throne, me and Fiona as the new king and queen. But the most promising candidate is Princess Fiona's cousin Artie, a teenage slacker at a medieval high school. I, Shrek, and my trusted companions Donkey and Puss are set out to bring Artie back to the kingdom so he can rule it. But our mission to find a king is bigger challenge than I expected, because there's a little bit of competition, if you know what I mean, eh? And not to mention, I can't believe I'm going to be a father. I mean, it's not my life I'm worried about ruining, it's the kids. You've heard the phrases, hey, I can't wait for you to meet my dad. He's a real ogre, or he's as cool as an ogre, or as strong as an ogre. I'm afraid I won't meet the expectations as a father. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to rule over a family or a kingdom. Hi everyone, having a good time on here. Welcome to Sterling on Sinemas. That's Cinemas with an S. And as you can tell by the wee little title down there, this is the review on Shrek the Third. I am Shrek the Third King in a row. So before you begin, before you jump onto the boat, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your fellow lassies and lads so that they can see for themselves the story that is being played out before them. The third chapter into the story, the greatest fairy tale never told. And now they get to see it for themselves. So, Shrek the Third is by no means as memorable or ageless as the first two installments. But there is one thing we can take away from the film. This is a prime example of how a threequel can either make or break a franchise. The formulaic pattern when it comes to the masses of film trilogies is this: originality is destined to prevail. The sequel must be earned. See, originality is something that becomes nuanced or groundbreaking if it appeals to the modern eye. If it makes them go aye because it appeals to the eye, then it is something brand new. That is what we did with the first Shrek film. We took something that another studio bigger than us is known for doing, and we flipped it on its head, and it made them go aye. So when we made the sequel, it made them even go aye, Shrek. So the way we did with the sequel is that we put ourselves in the actual shoes of your expectations by me becoming the prince, Donkey becoming a horse, and me actually going to a real kingdom far, far away called, you guessed it, far, far away. But the threequels are rarely necessary. But for trilogies, if not for franchises, it's where they usually stumble. It would have been adequate if DreamWorks had ended the story of Shrek. I am an ogre. I would love to see me and other ogres. There's got to be more ogres out there. But it would have been better if they ended the story with a bang from the success of its fruitful sequel. There are a few things this movie could have survived without, like with everything involving Charming and the antagonists, the fairy tale villains. I thought it would have been meritable for Shrek the Third to tackle only two plot lines that are necessities for your favorite green character from the 2000s feeling ineligible to rule a kingdom or have a family. Guiding Shrek in a parental direction is one that does both service to both the continuous story and the character development. Watching the threequel lead up to a swamp, my swamp, where he, Farquaad, dumped those fairy tale creatures that I'm now friends with, me Donkey, Puss are now close with the pigs, Pinocchio, Gingy, and the rest of them. But watching the treacle lead up to the swamp being filled with an ogre family, not just one ogre, not just I, but with an ogre family. It was a delight to anticipate. It is a testament alone to how popular and profitable this franchise has become for a non-Disney company in less than a decade. Aye! But the voice acting chemistry between Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy slowly diminishes, with the focus being more on Shrek and Fiona's relationship as it goes. But as far as the plot line of seeking out a king, it was a 50-50 for me. Now, despite being happily married to Fiona and being accepted by the kingdom of far, far away as an anti-atypical couple, because really I'm an ogre and she's a princess, but it feels like she's really an ogre, but she's not really an ogre, you know, so it's a reverse psychology. So I, Shrek, do not want to carry the responsibility of ruling the kingdom because I am not prepared for this. Before any mentioning of kids, I'm not sure how many, but hopefully it's not a flood of weed tushies, a flood of tushies all over the swamp. But before any mentioning of kids, it sounds like a cop-out to just refuse the inheritance of high power out of self-doubts, but could make the audience root for my refusal to take the kingdom by hand. So I insist that there is no better fit to royalty than someone out of royal blood, right? Enter Arthur Pendragon. He's the first, Justin Timberlake being one of many actors who will come back to voice another, if not many, DreamWorks characters. Justin Timberlake, who will go on to play Branch in Trolls. I love Trolls. But aside from being a suitable fit to rule a kingdom through his leadership and good nature, which is presented in the latter half of the film during the climactic theater show, he is really just a brackish excuse to revisit the recurring prejudice theme that has been conspicuous from the first two films. The rest of the movie is just either irrelevant or egregious. It's not it's egregious. To reiterate, it is a redundancy to have Prince Charming going by the fairy tale book to fight for his place as king of far, far away. The fairy godmother had already made Charming the king in Shrek 2, but this time Charming takes matters into his own hands. So it's very much history repeating itself. The Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 41% recommendation. Shrek the Third screws itself over by exchanging the forbidden taste of the familiar fruit of the franchise with a faltering narrative that affects the overall in the most saddest things possible, and albeit the happiest ways possible, the good and the bad ways. That this film affects the overall narrative. So it affects it in a good way, like, you know, adding children to our circle, which creates a blended family of me, Dragon, Donkey, and the Drunkies. And the Drunkies. But also in not so good ways by recycling a story that we had already seen 3 years prior. So for that, it is on the borderline with being okay to being and okay. So I give it a 60, a 6 out of 10. So that is all I have to say about my third installment of my franchise that has made this studio tons of money. That they can't take it back, and I won't be investing anything in the kingdom. Let me just tell you that right now, okay? Now, if you think you're going to walk into my kingdom and you expect me to say, "Oh, no, you didn't," or "You're getting on my last nerve," then I'll know it's whack. Oh! Just either way it goes, get out of my swamp now.